الو.
السلام عليكم.
محمد، عليكم السلام، شلونك؟
الحمد لله، انت شلونك؟ شو اخبارك؟
شكرا. شلونك كان وياك الهوم ورك؟
كان ايه زين الحمد لله.
بعدني ما صححت، صححت اياها واعطيك السكور.
ايه
يعني
اوكي.
لاقيت بها صعوبة شيء؟
لا، شفتها زينة. شكرا.
يعني الدرس استفاديت من عنده
ايه
فقدرت تحل
ايه،
الأسئلة؟
بدون الدرس ما قدرت احل.
نعم.
بدون الدرس ما قدرت احل، بس ويا الدرس اقدر احل.
اي، انت لا تنسى ترى انا مسجل لكم المحاضرة، تقدر ترجع لها
لا، ايه رجعت على مود اجاوب بيه.
اي، تقدر ترجع لها مرة ومرتين وخليها عندك مثل دوكيومنت يعني تقدر تسوي بها ريفيجن تفيدك حتى للمستقبل يعني. فلهذا
مم.
انا اسجلها ودا ادز لكم اياها يعني.
مم.
هسه عندنا سما تتاخر، ما اعرف ليش.
هاني ما اعرف من.
اي، مو مشكله.
عادي ايه.
اوكي، عندك اسئله شيء يعني شيء ما تعرفه، شيء قريته ما
لا
فهمته؟
لا لا لا، كله زين الحمد لله.
زين، احنا بدنا نمشي على المنهج مالتك مال المدرسه نفسه لو يختلف؟
هسه بالكيمستري مو.
اي، هو احنا
ايه
بس
ايش.
كمستري بدنا نسوي.
ايه ايه ايه. ايه يعني. ايه,
يعني ويا المنهج مالتك.
إيه ويا المنهج. احنا بالمدرسة اذا كتاب الجو، لا هنا. خليني اشوف اخر الشغلة سنة سوينا، اعتقد كان بالميتالز. لا
بالشنو
كان
العفو؟
كان بالاتومز، اسف كان بالاتومز، واحنا مو سوينا الاتومز فكان سهل الدرس اللي بالمدرسة.
اي،
لان
يعني
احنا
اكو
رحنا
شيء،
فوق الاتوم.
اكو شيء بالمدرسه نطوك اياه احنا ما بعدنا ما شارحيه او ما شرحناه ضمن هذا
لا
السلب؟
لا لا، احنا هسه جاي نشرح شنو هم جاي يسوون، ايه يعني زين الحمد لله.
اوكي.
إيه.
هسه نشوف سما، بس تجي سما شوي تتاخر هي، ما اعرف ليش. انت داخل على اللابتوب لو على الموبايل؟
على اللابتوب.
إيه، مو احسن لك على اللابتوب؟
ايه احسن. أنا أقدر أستخدم شو يسموه، يعني بنفس وأنت ما تروح أقدر أطلع من هذا وأسوي شغلة ثانية إذا تفتح،
إيه،
يعني بالواجب.
ممتاز.
مم.
احنا اليوم عندنا شويه نحكي على البيريودك تيبل وشويه ايضا على الكومباوندز، لان الكومباوندز يعني بي شغلات هم لازم نعرفها، وبعدين هم عندنا نيمينج اوف كومباوند، شلون تسمي الكومباوند. هاي بعدين الدرس القادم، اليوم ما نلحق نخلصها. بس خلينا نشوف سما وين صارت. مو مشكلة.
خليني أسأل أمي بس ثانية واحدة.
يلا.
ما تعرف.
انت هذني اكو عندك ما عرفت الديستليشن، انا كتبت لك.
بالديستليشن.
ايه، دائما عمو محمد when you have two liquids or more
إيه
two liquids، من عندك
إيه
two liquids
إيه.
especially if the boiling point is different، يعني رأسا distillation خلي على
أما
بالك.
المشكلة ما تقدر تفوت.
يلا جتي شو اسمه سما
السلام
سما.
عليكم.
عليكم السلام. are you okay؟
إيه بس كان كانت ما تشتغل، وكان المكتب شوية هسه مو مشتغل، بس هسه شغال.
يلا احنا ما بدينا، we didn't do anything بس we've just been waiting for you يعني. Okay, let's start now. Our title for today is periodic table and compounds. We still do some of compounds because compounds needs something to explain, yani, how to name them, how to write them. So why is not moving? Short minutes. Right. This is what you see is a periodic table. Yani, what is periodic table? Periodic table, we have, let us say something about 100 elements. طبعا البeriodic table إلى history. Some people they started and then it's developed. So finally this is the shape or this is the form of periodic table. Periodic table طبعا contains elements, only elements. There is no compounds, there is no mixtures, only compounds. Sorry, only elements. يعني مثلا for example you see hydrogen, lithium, sodium, beryllium, magnesium, etc. All these are elements. So it's like, if you look at it carefully, you see it's like a period, يعني horizontal, sorry, you see periods and columns. يعني we're saying elements with similar properties are in columns. يعني شنو columns? مثلا, if you go to column number 1, if you see the number 1, can you see the number 1? ها محمد؟
نعم.
سما؟
نعم.
Can you see number 1? So if I
نعم.
go something like that, lithium, sodium, potassium, rubidium, cesium, francium, all these elements are in one column. Some people they call it family. Some people they call it family. But column is more usual. Column is more usual. But if you say a family, it's not wrong. It's not wrong. It's still right, yani. So these elements, of course, they don't have exactly same properties. They don't have exactly same properties, but they have so much similarity in their properties. يعني lithium, more or less, is similar to sodium. So 1 minute. This is lithium, and this is, sorry, it's very sensitive, this laptop, because I'm not using mouse, and I'm not familiar. Yani without mouse is not easy for me. Yeah, you see lithium? Have you seen it? Where I am pointing? Do you know where's the lithium in column number 1?
نعم.
Sama?
نعم.
Yeah. If you see lithium, and then it comes, if you go down, it comes sodium, and then potassium, and then rubidium, and then cesium, and then francium. So all these elements, they are in one group. And the question is, why they are in one group, the same group? Because they are similar in their chemical properties. And remember, we're saying similar, we're not saying same. So don't make this mistake to say they have same chemical properties. No, they don't have exactly same. They are different in their reactivities, but more or less they are similar. If you go to number 2, مثلا group number 2, you have another group. You have beryllium, magnesium, calcium, strontium, barium, and radium. These group 2. Again, we have another group. Again, they have similar properties, and all these groups like that. مثلا, if you go to group number 7, on far right, you have fluorine and chlorine and bromine and iodine and astatine. All these elements, fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, they have, again, similar properties. This is one of the things. So we have groups in periodic table. And then we have period. If you go horizontally like that, for example, if you move like this, let's say like this one, lithium, beryllium, يعني you're moving from group 1 to group 2, and then you're going to group 3, which contains boron, and then group 4, carbon, group number 5, sorry, group number 5, nitrogen, group number 6, oxygen, group number 7, fluorine, neon. Look at these elements, starting from lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. All of them, they are in the same line. They are in the same line. Okay, we call this period. Don't forget these two words, column and period. Column and period. You should know what is period means and what is column means. Column contains similar elements. They have similarity in their chemical properties. بس البيريود no, you have graduation. يعني beryllium مثلا in group 2 it comes after lithium. طبعا the periodic table is graduated according to the atomic number. يعني شنو atomic number؟ مثلا if we go to period 2, which one is period 2? Starting from lithium, remember. This one is period 2. Have you seen it?
نعم.
Lithium. And then what's after lithium? In the same period, tell me. What's after lithium?
BE.
Be, beryllium. And then B. تمام? And then يلا سما.
Carbon.
In the period 2, what's after B?
Carbon.
What is this C? C is carbon. And then after C,
Nitrogen.
and nitrogen. And then
Oxygen.
oxygen. And then fluorine. And then neon. Okay. Now you understanding what column means and what period means. We have period 1, which is just hydrogen and helium, the first line. Although there is a gap, but it's considered as a line. So you have groups and you have periods. طبعا the periodic table, as I said, is graduated according to the increase in atomic number. يعني مثلا, for example, lithium, atomic number for lithium is 3, for beryllium is 4, for boron is 5, carbon 6, nitrogen 7, oxygen 8, fluorine 9, neon 10. Have you seen that? This is another periodic table, same, بس طبعا شوية a bit more details. Again, I written for you here a group. So this is group 1, and this is group 2, and then this is group 3, and then this is group 4, 5, 6, 7. For you, for your level, you need to know something about group 1 and group 2 and group 7. Okay? Group 1 and group 2 and group 7. And what is period, as I said? So hydrogen and then helium, He, that's period 1. Period 2 is lithium, beryllium, and then boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, and neon. يعني group, you move down, and period, you move horizontally. You move horizontally. طبعا there is a group, this block. If you look at carefully with me from the one which is numbered 21, scandium, and until zinc, which is 30, this block is called the transition metal. For your level, you're not responsible for transition metals. You're not responsible for transition metals. But the only thing you need to know is this groups, يعني scandium, titanium, vanadium, chromium, manganese, etc. This block is called transition metal. You will study this in the future, يعني in A level. So far, by now, do you know what period and what is column or family?
No.
Is that clear for you? Huh?
نعم.
Yeah, tell me, Sama.
No.
So you know what is column and what is period. We put
Yes.
like a key for you there. مثلا for example hydrogen. طبعا ال H هو symbol, and remember this one is the atomic number, and remember atomic number is the proton number, يعني how many protons or how many electrons, because number of protons and electrons are equal. So in this case, we can say atomic number is the number of electrons as well. But scientifically exact meaning for atomic number is the number of protons. And then you have the name, and then you have the name, and then you have atomic weight, and that's it. For time being, you need only this. You need only this. So you need to know the symbol, and you need to know the atomic number and the atomic mass. Or some people, they say atomic weight, atomic mass or atomic weight. For us as a chemist, is same. Okay, now, again, look at this. This is group 1, for example. طبعا hydrogen is not considered as a group 1. I have to tell you this. But they put hydrogen there because the outer shell for hydrogen is similar to this group, because the outer shell for hydrogen contains only one electron. يعني in all these members of a group, all of them, they have one electron in the outer shell. يعني مثلا lithium, the atomic number is 3. So we have in the first level 2. In the second level, we have only 1. Tamam? Do you understand what I'm saying or not?
Can you repeat that, please?
Huh?
Can you repeat that, please?
Repeat?
Yeah.
Okay. What's the atomic number of lithium? It is 3. Can you see it here?
نعم.
Can you see that? It is 3. So what does it mean 3 atomic number? يعني how many electrons? Huh?
3.
3?
Yeah.
So you have 3 electrons in lithium. Right. Do you remember the electronic configuration or the electronic structure? Do you remember first level contains maximum 2, second level contains maximum 8? Do you remember that? We
Yes.
did this before. نعم. Sama,
No.
do you have a question?
Yeah.
Right. Can we write now the electronic configuration for lithium? What is how many electrons in the first level?
2.
Okay. What about second level?
1.
1. Good. Now move to sodium. The atomic number is 11. How many electrons again in the first level?
2.
2. Second level?
8.
8. How many left?
1.
1. So the 1 goes to the third level. Tamam? Tamam? Right. Have you noticed that lithium in the outer shell, it contains 1 electron, and the sodium in the outer shell contains 1 electron. If you do potassium, If you do potassium, again, you have 1 electron in the outer shell. So all these elements in group 1, they have 1 electron in the outer shell. You see, lithium has 1 electron in the second level. Sodium again has 1 electron, but in the third level. In the third level. Potassium has again 1 electron in the fourth level. Rubidium has 1 electron in the fifth level. Do you understand what I am saying?
نعم.
يعني إذا أنت تسوي الإلكترونيك configuration, if you do the electronic configuration, you always notice إنه these elements, they have 1 electron in the outermost shell. But different level طبعا, different level. But it is the outer shell. We're talking about the outer shell. And because they have the same number of electrons in the outer shell, that's why they are in the same group. That's why they are in the same group. And that's why they have similar chemical properties. That's why they have similar chemical properties, because the outer shell of them contains 1 electron. If you go to, طبعا this is vertical as we said. If you go to مثلا another group, مثلا look at to group 7. Look at to group 7. You have fluorine, you have chlorine, you have bromine, you have iodine. Forget the other two. Nobody gonna ask you about it. You need to know just fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine. The others, you don't need to go too much details about them. Now, if you do again electronic configuration for these elements, how many electrons in the fluorine?
2.
Fluorine is written there. How many electrons altogether?
9.
9. 9. That number represents the atomic number, as we said. And the atomic number is the proton number and electron number. And because we're talking about the electron number, we're not talking about the proton. That number represents number of electrons for us. So you have in fluorine 9 electrons. Now, again, if we do the electronic configuration, so in the first level you have 2 again. And how many electrons left?
7.
7. So 7 is in the outer shell. So in this group, the outer shell for them contains always 7 electrons. The outer shell contains 7 electrons. And that's why they are group 7. And that's why they are group 7. So group 7 معناته الأوتر shell be 7 electrons. Group 6, it means the outer shell contains 6 electrons. Group 1 معناته الأوتر shell contains 1 electron. Group 2 معناته الأوتر shell contains 2 electrons, and so on. But if you go to the inert gases, يعني the other group, يعني helium, neon, argon, krypton, xenon, these, some people, they call it group 8, and some people, they call it group 0. So both works. So why is it group 8? Because the outer shell, except helium طبعا, except helium, it contains all 8 electrons in the outer shell. Look at the neon, you have 10 electrons. So the first level contains 2, and then the second level contains 8. Contains 8. So these groups, you know, you need to know something about them. Group 1 and 2 and 7, and 2 and 7, and something just about group 8, just simple idea. Remember, elements in the group, they have similar chemical properties. Similar chemical properties. يعني fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, they are similar, but they are طبعا different in their reactivities. Different in their reactivities. يعني مثلا fluorine is more reactive than chlorine. Chlorine is more reactive than bromine. Bromine is more reactive than iodine. Reactivity is different, but similar in chemical properties. Similar in chemical properties. Do you have any questions so far? Anything not clear for you?
No.
Is that okay? Good. Let's move to. So now we talk about period. Look at this period too. It's lithium, beryllium, boron, carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, fluorine, neon. So this number, if you see this number like 3 with lithium, look at this consequence. Lithium is 3, beryllium is 4, boron is 5, C is 6, nitrogen is 7, oxygen is 8, fluorine is 9, and neon is 10. يعني in consequence 1 after 1. يعني كأنه we adding 1 electron. يعني كأنه you adding 1 atomic number. So in the period, the atomic number increases by 1 by 1. This is in period. And look at the lithium is in group 1. مثلا beryllium in group 2. Boron is in group 3. And carbon group 4. And so on. طبعا remember, some elements they are solids, some of them they are gas, and few of them they are liquid. That's the physical state. Now look at this one. What are we having? We're having 3 elements: sodium and fluorine and neon. Right. How do we know, for example, sodium in which group and in which period? How do you know that? Now, I tell you how. How many energy levels drawn with sodium? How many energy levels can you see? Huh? 3? Can you see 3 energy levels?
11.
Sama?
Yes.
First level contains 2 electrons, as we said. And then second level, 8 electrons. And there is 1 electron left. It's in the outer shell. Just 1 electron. So, because you have 3 levels, so this means it is in period 3. So sodium is in period 3. And in which group sodium is? It is in group 1. Why is it in group 1? Because the outer shell contains 1 electron. Look at the fluorine. You have, again, in the first level 2. Always first level maximum is 2. And then you have second level, which contains 7 electrons. So in fluorine, you have only 2 energy levels. That's why it is in period 2. But it is in group 7. Why is it in group 7? Because you have 7 electrons in the outer shell. If you move to neon, for example, again, you have 2 energy levels. First one contains only 2. Second one contains 8. So neon is in group 8, but it is in period 2 because there is only 2 energy levels. Have you noticed that? Did you get that point or not?
نعم.
Yes.
Good. Huh?
I understood, yes.
So is it clear for you what I am saying?
Yes.
Good. So remember, group is the number of electrons in the outer shell. How many electrons in the outer shell? That represents in which group is this element. And the number of shells, such as in sodium 3 and fluorine 2 and neon 2. So that number of shells represents the period number. In which period is that element? Good. Okay. Now, let me close this. Now, these elements, in general, they classified into two groups in general. يعني two types of elements, let us say. One type is called metals, which is the majority of the elements. Sorry. And one type is called non-metals. So we have metals and non-metals. If you look at the periodic table here, you can see the non-metals, they are on the far right, and the metals, they are on the left. Can you see the border between them? That block
Yes.
line like stairs? Can you see that?
Yes.
نعم.
So for example, طبعا to be honest, يعني some elements on the border, they're not exactly metals and they're not exactly non-metals. They call them metalloids. They call them metalloids. But in general, you need to classify them as metals and non-metals. Remember, the majority of the elements are metals and some they are non-metals. يعني مثلا group 7 they are non-metals. Group 0 or 8 they are non-metals. مثلا nitrogen, oxygen, phosphorus, sulfur, selenium, these are non-metals. بينما lithium, sodium, potassium, magnesium, calcium, all these on the far left, they are metals and they are pure metals. So elements that don't form positive ions are non-metals. Do you remember we explained what ions? Do you remember ions? Do you remember
No.
ions or you forgot?
Yes.
Mhm.
Ions, two types of ions, some negative, some positive. Some positive, some negative. And when we get positive, when that element or that atom losing electrons. And when we get negative ions, when that element gains electron. So when atom gains electron, it makes negative ions, and when the atom lose electron, they make positive ion. So in general, non-metals, they make like negative ions, and metals, they make positive ions. Remember this point. So metals, they make positive ions, and non-metals, they make negative ions. So my question now again, where I can find the non-metals, your answer is far right. Where I can find the metals, when I move to left, especially far left, يعني group 1, group 2, they are very good example for metals. Is that clear?
نعم.
Good. Okay, again, this is the periodic table. As you see, the metals on the left and the non-metals on the right. And you see the groups, group 1, group 2, group 3. And we have another number says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's the period. So remember, period when we move horizontal, and group when we move vertical. يعني going down or going up. That's a group. Okay. Now, we have, this is important, we have differences between metals and non-metals, between metals and non-metals. Right, metals, they are very good conductive, they are very good conductor of heat and electricity. يعني all your electric wires at home, all made of metals, like copper, for example. But non-metals, they are bad or not conductive, bad or not conductive. And metals, they are malleable. What malleable means? They can be beaten into sheets, and we can make metals as a sheets. بينما non-metals, no, they are not malleable. And the metals, they are ductile. And what does it mean? It means we can stretch them, make wires. Just 1 second, 1 second. Usually metals, they are solid. They are solid. طبعا there is exception. مثلا mercury is a liquid, but this is not general. And generally they are solids. That's why the melting point is high. بينما non-metals, the melting point is low. And metals, they combine with oxygen. This is important, you know, again. Combine with oxygen to make, we call it basic oxides. We will explain what does it mean basic oxides later. بينما non-metals, they make acidic oxides. So this is in chemistry, is important to know. You have metals making basic oxides. Any element, when it reacts with oxygen, it makes oxide. We call it oxide. Carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, مثلا sodium oxide, when it reacts with oxygen. So some examples of metals, you have silver, you have gold, you have copper, you have aluminum, you have iron, you have sodium, you have magnesium. All these are elements. بينما non-metals, they are مثلا helium is a gas, hydrogen is a gas, iodine is a solid, phosphorus. If you go to the periodic table again, you see these elements, they are in the they exist in the far right. Carbon, nitrogen, oxygen, sulfur, neon, etc. You need to have some idea about some metals and some non-metals. And remember, metals, they are conductive, they are malleable, they are ductile, they have high melting point and boiling point, and they are generally solids. And everything opposite to that is non-metals. And everything opposite to that is non-metals. Right. Can we stop here and send you link again? Is that okay?
نعم.
Okay.
نعم.
Right. Okay.